part of me is healed enough to go there. Hey, hello, everyone. It's Trey here. And guess what? It's Wednesday and it is Laugh and Learn Lunch. But guess what, you guys, we're going to talk about frequency. It's Laugh and Learn Lunch frequency. And you guys, I am so excited that you come out and you show up for me on all the different places and spaces. So all of you Facebook people, all of you Twitter people, all of oh my gosh, I even YouTubers and LinkedIn people. I am so grateful for your being here, for showing up for me, and because I love talking about ascension. So I want to share. I am an intuitive healer. I got my medicine mostly from a car accident, having been paralyzed. And from that journey, I learned how to heal myself. I learned how my thoughts and my emotions were really creating the experience that I had. And when I realized that, guess what I did? I learned how to play with the law of attraction. I was introduced to The Secret 3 months before I was paralyzed, and I know that everything is perfectly divinely orchestrated. And I use that to get to the point where now I walk again. I live my best life and I help others to really get that confidence and clarity so that they could self actualize the life of their dreams. Because most people don't even know what that is when I ask them. If you had all the abundance, if you had no buts, what would you do? And they can't even tell me their big the people say it impossible dream, but what I say is the possible dream, right? That big possible dream, what is that? So this is why this conversation is going to get really interesting. I cannot wait for you to meet this amazing gentleman, and I want to pronounce your name. So is it
Rajai.
pronounce it for me?
Rajai.
Rajai. Okay, Rajai. Rajai, and I heard him speak, and I am not kidding you. I was messaging him instantly. I need to have you talk to my people about so without further ado, I am now handing over this amazing mic to this amazing man he's gonna remind me of some amazingness. So please introduce yourself to the people and
Thank you,
let's
Trey.
get ready to start this conversation because we're going wherever you want to flow with it.
Absolutely, and I'd love to kind of just flow, let the universe kind of guide us and all that. I love your story, and yeah, look, it's amazing what we're a part of. I do believe we are majestic beings. We live in a quantum universe, and we are quantum beings, and we're connected to everything that is. And the fact that everything is frequency, energy, and vibration, including us. And so that is how we're all connected. And I found the power of frequency healing years ago, and it transformed my life. And I've kind of gone from what I was doing before in a totally new direction, and I feel like I found my purpose. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I love kind of what the possibilities are for us if we're actually intentional about who we want to become. And obviously, I use a lot of tools in what I do, but some people need that. And I think it's very powerful when you have something that can help you along to get you where you need to go.
And to be able to meet you where you're at, because we are all in different places and spaces. And this is what I love. I'm like, okay, there's a way. And it's so interesting because I hadn't thought of this in a long time. So years and years ago, uh before I was paralyzed, because I was thinking back as you were talking, I was like, was I walking or was I not? Right. There was a time when I was introduced to this sound frequency, right? And they had you create kind of affirming statements or just things that you wanted, right? And send in these statements, and then from that they said, here, we're sending you back these tones. And then they were different things and ever so gently, and I had forgotten that I had started those. And let me tell you, so first I had wanted to, I knew I didn't feel balanced in my left and right brain. Right.
Mm,
I felt like I was way too left brain and not enough right brain. Right. I was like, okay, I want, but I know it's there. So I was like, and I was told that, and I can't think of it right now and who it was because I know that they're still in business. And they understood that certain tones,
yeah,
and they said that they had started it on, I think, people with PTSD or different types of trauma
yeah,
to help shift the stuff with the tone. So I don't know why I had that flashback then. And I started the series and I did notice they had essential ones, right? So they're like, listen to this one for like 6 weeks and then move to this one for like 8 weeks. You know what I mean? And but
yeah.
oh my gosh, I realized I started to become ambidextrous and I
Mm,
realized I really, and my auntie told me you always used to be left-handed, but they used to make you do everything right-handed. But
right.
you would want to do this, and these crazy things really I started experiencing, and I was like, no, but yes, like you know what I mean? Because you consciously are like, this isn't true because we're just taught so much to doubt or question everything. And how could that have happened from listening to these weird ding dong chimes? Like,
Well, yeah, we live in a very materialistic world, and everything's got to be touch, feel, and I have to fully understand all this and all that, and I don't think we necessarily need that. I think that's kind of where our left brain thinking comes from. But most people aren't tapping into that right side, that creative side. So like yeah, I call it a state of essentially surrender and flow. And I've had some amazing experiences with surrender and flow. But like maybe I could share with you
yep,
uh, my story about how I got involved. But before I do that, so these tones that you were listening to, these were like binaural beats and stuff like that?
I think so. And
Yeah.
I want to start looking for them because I know I have them somewhere close. And I actually bought like the first little package, and I saw such a difference that I invested in the next level.
Okay.
And yes, and it was, I'm not even kidding, probably almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That
it's probably from the Monroe Institute. I still have some stuff from them, and maybe I could share some of those files with you.
whatever you're comfortable, I am so
Absolutely.
grateful. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's good stuff. I used to do a lot of meditation with that. But so think about music, right? Music is powerful. Music is a frequency as well, right? It's just a subtler frequency. But think about when we hear a song that moves us, right? Or when we hear a song that we love, there's an emotional response within that's triggered, right? It's not much different than that. We have a happy song. We get happy. If it's loud, it kind of gives us a little more
Like,
energy, right? And if it's
chair
sad,
dance.
it produces some kind of emotional response. But it's not that
Especially
much
for us
different.
empaths. Yeah.
It's not that much difference to get a physical response. It's just on a different level. Um, but maybe I could share my story. Kind of, I was where I was at, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I actually wasn't living my best life. I was kind of just a zombie. I was kind of working the corporate world type stuff. I was hustling left and right. I was working hard, but it was with no purpose. I didn't have a purpose in my life. I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like I was missing something massively huge in my life, and I was not happy. Um, but I was also very stressed out. I was burnt out, stressed out, and my body just didn't you know didn't do well with that kind of environment. I got to the point to where I started to have panic attacks. I had a 2-hour panic attack in a plane ride. Um, Woke up one morning and I had a lump under my armpit about that big. Um, I was getting chest pain, tingling numbness in my arm, chronic fatigue, foggy brain. I really felt like a zombie, and it got to the point where I was actually severely depressed too, and I
Mhm.
was dealing with a lot of stuff like that, but I just felt empty. Well, one evening, well, it was one day at work. It was such a bad day that it was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was like, I'm done. I mean, get me the hell out of here. Why the hell? Why am I even here? And my plan that night was to go home, drink a full bottle of whiskey, take as many pills as I could, and just get me out of here. That's kind of where I was at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the amazing thing. And this is kind of like what really open. I mean, I was already kind of open. I've had moments, throughout my life, but this
Yeah.
was like a pivotal moment in my life. And as I was driving home with that intention, and I was pissed off, a voice came in, like someone was in my car speaking to me. And the voice said, go to this little gift shop, a little metaphysical gift shop that I knew about. I really didn't go there very often. I'd stop in maybe once or twice a year. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not going anywhere. But that voice came back two more times. So I was like, okay, fine. So I surrendered. I said, okay, fine, I'll go. And I'm speaking back to it like someone's in my car talking, like
I know.
talking. And I'm thinking, and I'm even thinking like, damn, people must be thinking I'm crazy or what. I have no idea, but I really didn't give a shit anyway. I didn't
Yeah.
care. So I was like, fine. I show up to this little gift shop, and as I walk in, I open the door, and there's no one in the gift shop. There's one person behind the counter. I recognize the guy. I haven't seen this guy in 4 years. He doesn't even work there. He's filling in for a day or two. And I'm like, John, what's going on? What are you doing here? He goes, I'm just filling in. And he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I have no idea. I'm just here. And so he invites me in, and we're talking, we're chit chatting, we're catching up, and we're behind the counter. And 15 minutes into our conversation, I still don't know why that voice sent me there. And I'm looking around. I'm like, there's got to be something here, something I'm missing. And so I'm looking around, and they have a yoga room, and I noticed the curtains were closed and the door was closed, and there were some people in the yoga room. And so I said, hey, John, what's going on in the yoga room? He goes, I don't know. These people are talking about this pulse electromagnetic frequency device. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, hang on. I'm going to go check that out. So I kind of said goodbye, and I walked into the room, says, hey guys, what are you talking about? I got half an hour. Can you make it quick? Because I just need to know what you're talking about, and then I got to go. I got stuff to do. I'm busy now.
Yeah.
So they invite me in, and it was about 7 or 8 people, maybe 9, whatever. But they invite me in, and I listen, and they're talking about frequency and vibration and how everything is energy, and this pulse electromagnetic field passes through your body, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, so, I knew about Tesla, and I knew about Dr. Raymond Rife, and all this other stuff. I had crystals and rocks, and, I've done all that stuff. But so I kind of was digging it, but, I've never had a real hardcore, tangible experience with it.
Yeah.
It was always kind of an intellectual, kind of philosophical, conceptual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of people don't make that connection.
Yeah.
But before I left, they said, hey, just lay on this mat, this healing mat, this frequency mat for, 10 minutes. And that's it.
And you're like, well, it fits in my half hour, so you're lucky.
Right. So I'm like, all right, why not? It's free. It's, I'm here. Let me just jump on it. Right. So I laid on this mat, and I didn't feel a thing. And so I really wasn't really all that impressed, but I took the information. I drove home. By the time I got home, I was like dozing off at the wheel. I was like nodding. No. I was like, what the hell hit me? I was like, holy smokes. And so I had no energy to do anything but go straight to bed. But I woke up 4 hours later, felt refreshed, rejuvenated. I'm like, that might be the best sleep I've had in 10 years. And so that piqued my interest. Anyhow, long story short, I eventually, got a device, started using it. Within 5 days after I got my own device, but I had that lump, which had been there for 4 months, gone. Chest pain, gone. Tingling numbness in my arm, gone. I had a blood clot in my leg. Everything changed, but it was like a tangible, hardcore experience. It was a physical change in my body utilizing a frequency device. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is powerful. And this can really open up the door for a lot of people. This is something that can really transform lives. And
Sure.
this is something that people can, even people that don't believe, right? Because you don't need to believe.
When you actually experience something like that. Okay, so I really have a question, a burning question. So, do you feel like now looking back that your emotional and mental state shifted also through the
100%.
physical?
100%. My depression went away, my mood. I went from being like a zombie to being like the happiest dude at my work. And they were like, what the hell's wrong with this dude? This dude's smoking something. Like, hey, I
They're
mean,
like, "What are you on?"
what's that?
They're like, "What are you on, huh?"
Absolutely. And you know what? I eventually quit the job and I went off on my own and just kind of started promoting these frequency devices. I've been a totally different person since I mean, I was just night and day, but it really kind of put me on a trajectory to where now it's like, I feel like I'm actually helping people. I'm doing something that can benefit people. But beyond that, not just physically helping, but I think it's a teaching tool. I think it's a gateway into a whole new world that once people really understand what we are and how we're all connected and how frequency plays a role, it's like KD bar the door, because now we're tapping into our real power. We're a technology as well.
Yes.
We are the real technology. And look, I mean, um, the the frequency device I use, it doesn't heal, treat, cure anything. It just puts out a field, a frequency that bioresonates. My body is what did all the work. It just received.
Yes.
It received and says,
Yes.
all right, that's information. I could do something with that information. I recognize that. And it
Yes.
took that and it ran with it. And so anything's possible. And I think
Yes.
once we all kind of hone in on our intention, and our thoughts are frequencies, our emotions are frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
um, you mentioned The Secret, and I remember watching The Secret years ago. I mean, and I felt like when I watched there was something missing. I liked the concept, but there was something,
There
a key
is.
a key component that was absolutely missing, and that's why it didn't like resonate as well with me, because I felt like it was almost like a half truth. Um, but later
Or,
on,
yep. I
but
get
later,
you.
but later on, I found out. Well, what is that key element, right? And so so it's about being in alignment. Most people um, are in conflict. So incoherence, right? So you have a lot of competing energies in your life. A lot of times it's competing energies within you, like your thoughts, your programming. You have some chatter that's negative and some that's positive, and so it's always going back and forth. So there's this tug of war, and so you don't get very far because it kind of neutralizes one another, right? But then your emotional state. So you've heard of people doing affirmations, affirmations, affirmations. Well, they kind of only work if you believe them.
That's the key.
Right. And so if you feel like, hey, okay, it is a step in the right direction, but to really accelerate and to get better results, having a belief in what you're saying is even
It's
that much
foundational.
important.
And I love that you're talking about this. So, of course, two things are huge, huge. I'm feeling so before, when you were talking about how we're all connected. So, in my healing journey, I was introduced to indigenous healers after indigenous healers, and I'm talking from around the world. So,
Yeah.
different cultural shamans, whatever you want to call them, right? That are practicing what they've learned from generations of healers in that modality, in whatever, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
getting all these people, and the common thing in every culture is drumming. and what happens when you sit in drumming. So you guys, if you go to my YouTube, Trey Urban, you're gonna see that I've recorded countless drumming circles, and we're literally by the creek. And what happens is it doesn't matter how people start off, because people start off clanging and clicking, but I kid you not, within minutes synchronicity happens, the drumming synchronizes, and then you feel the heartbeat synchronize. And that's why we always sit in circle, because the vibration then just like this. And this is why I love the tool of, putting this, because the same thing, and it goes back into your heart space, right? And we're
Yeah.
sitting in the same heartbeat, and it's almost like that beat of all of us. Not only, okay, so this is what I believe is vibration. Vibration is not only moving and releasing energies that don't serve the highest and greatest good. And I believe that there's a four body, right? There's the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the physical body.
Yeah.
And I believe that the mental body is made up of all that it's been fed in this lifetime. So this is your computer of experience, right? And that your emotional body is a record keeper of every moment of impact, and it is logged every sense that you perceived anytime there was communication that was unpleasant, whatever, some even good things, right? Because some of us would go, oh, we smell that smell, and we are reminded of grandma's cookies, right? And then we're just like, oh, I love that smell, right? And we melt into this wonderfulness. And then all of a sudden you could see yourself in the kitchen grabbing the cookie, right? And because it's logged it all, right? And so these things, when you vibrate that, however, there's 50 billion ways to move the energy, and these are the amazing communications. Magnets, yes, they move energy. Sound moves
Yeah.
energy. And until, okay, so I've been blessed, my frequency attracted me the writer of the law of attraction, the amazing Michael Loiser. And he, not only do I get to apprentice under him, but he's taught that the key is being able to validate that which you want with, for most of us, it has to be a past experience of some kind, because at some point in your life we did feel loved, even if it was for a second, right? From somebody,
Absolutely.
because they handed you a cotton candy, right?
Right.
Or like for most of us, who everyone's like, more money, right? That's all I hear repeatedly of my clients. More money, right? How do I get into the flow of abundance? Well, when you validate by going, oh, because, and for, I go, it doesn't matter the law. And he says, I love this, he says this all the time, the law of attraction isn't smart, it's obedient. It's obedient, right? It's obedient to that feeling and perception. So when you're affirming stuff, if you, even if you think back to an income tax return that you got, it doesn't know what check you're talking about. And then you just remember how excited you were that there were thousands, there was a lot of zeros on that, or a
Right.
time when, you had something amazing that you can tie it to, that your
Absolutely.
body really vibrates. But then it also validates that emotional body and that mental body, that, because to me, that those thoughts, that mental body, it's only here for the three things: to teach you, to protect you, and to motivate you. And it's
Right.
doing the best it can in all its little ways. And right, and sometimes it goes, you don't have enough money, you, or whatever. But and so I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, my cute little ego, and I'm going to put you back in, because and then I have to affirm, what do I want? And then I go back to remembering when I got that income tax check, and I was like, oh, because I have more than enough money. Checks just come to me, they get deposited to me, right? Oh my gosh. So I love, love, love that you're talking about how we are all, and I always love that movie. What is it? Avatar. That
Mm.
really, we all energetically, we're all made of energy, and we all have, whether it's your auric field, whatever you call the things. And when you allow people into that, it changes you. And this is why, once people like you and I understand it, it's like we move away from the things that weren't making you happy. And you're like, I eventually quit that job.
Sorry, I
because
moved on.
and you moved into peace and joy because it's going to be an organic thing that will come just from choosing self, I think. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I think when we're in our element and we're flowing, right? We're actually in alignment with why we're here. Things just unfold for you. You do have to be moving. You do have to be in action, but you also have to kind of be open, right? So you have to kind of be um, walking in faith. You have to be walking in faith, right? So you don't see it personally, but you're still stepping forward with a let's call it a knowing or a strong feeling of just surety that whatever is to be will be. I don't know how it's going to be, how it's going to unfold, but the universe is bringing it to me. And I think once we're in alignment, right, when you have your mental, emotional bodies in alignment, and then you're speaking and you're moving, then things just kind of come to you, because essentially you're just attracting whatever that energy that you're putting forth, like you mentioned,
Exactly.
it's obedient and it's reacting to you.
And it's so important that that's why you have fun with the things that are exciting you or pulling on your interest, and do more of that, because then it brings more of that. So I know when I start getting excited, because when COVID hit, not only did a lot of the indigenous crew that I traveled with, we would go around the world and had our easy setup where people already knew me. It was comfortable, but I also knew I was done being comfortable. You know what I mean? All the things
Yeah,
that my thoughts and stuff were picking up on. COVID hits. Not only do many of the people who ran this thing for over 20 some years passed away, right? But everything, I was like, okay, I'm so excited for the new ways and the new words and the new people and the new invitations, because in my logical thinking, my brain's going, because you don't even know what that is, you don't even know what that looks like. Oh yes, how are they just going to come and everything's shut down and a little, you know what I mean? And that's the chatter, right? That's your mental body going, oh, it's just protecting me, it's doing its best to, no, we're comfortable here. And I always laugh. I think of the movie The Croods, the little cartoon, and it's like, no, we're stay safe, safe in the cave. We're
right.
all gonna stay safe in the cave.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, no, I want to see the light. No, I want to see. I'm okay with whatever happens. I want to do that. So for me, going like you said, and this is what he talked about earlier, the ping pong game that you play of positive, negative, positive, negative, and the more, this is what I love. I say the more you prepare with the right words, or the right, or like I said, I don't know if right is the preferred word, but the I so that you can apply the law of substitution, right?
mm,
And the things that I want to substitute it with, and I practice them and write them, because I already know I had abandonment issues, right? I already knew that I had certain things that triggered certain things that I didn't want to have happen anymore. So what was that? And I practiced getting those, so that when crazy mind starts telling me all of the things, why I can't, why I shouldn't, what, that I was able to, I go put him back in the back seat of the bus, right? Take back the
right,
driving wheel and say, oh, I'm excited to always learn new things, and the things will always come to me, and to have the things that I want to replace it with, because in the end, we're all living a human experience,
mhm,
navigating the things, and then our human mind wants to tell us, well, no, sir, because you've been doing all this because you're supposed to get it from this one way. And then when stuff happens that pushes it, ends it, like me working for the state for 17 years. And I had this whole, do you know how close I was to retirement? I could have, you know what I mean? And I could
yeah,
taste it, like, and all these plans. And then it was like, just
yeah,
kidding. And then that's, it's like, it's perception, right? And I know what it feels like to feel the victim and the ping pong, and the same thing, and to go into the depression, because when you're in that depression, you're so focused on the past and what didn't work out and what hasn't worked out and why didn't I get the moment, uh right, and the anxiety is all about on the future
Yeah.
and thinking, oh, how is this going to happen? How are we going to, and where are these new people going to come in? And it's so funny. So I end up sitting on a beach, living my best life because I've decided I always get to be on the beach for my birthday. And I'm an intuitive and I get these flashes and I know I work for Creator Source. So I'm in
Mm.
agreement that I have to give the messages when I'm being told. And I didn't want to. I just want you to log this. I was in resistance, but Spirit's like, no, you got to go talk to this lady. You got to let her know, blah, blah, blah. And so I did my best to avoid it. And Spirit practically made me fall into her lap. So I was like, right.
Yeah. We'll do that. I mean, but look, we came in with an agreement, right? I do believe
Yes.
that we had an imprint that we came in with, and when we're not in alignment with that imprint, things don't work well. And then when we are, it's like, okay, but sometimes we resist it, and that's when our lives fall apart, and the universe kind of pushes us back towards that. And
Yeah.
it's either we try to swim, upriver, or we go with the flow.
Salmon.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So she ends up introducing. So I give her the message. She's so blown away. The next day, she's built the trust. She's like da da da, and the next year, she's like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have recorded all the things you told me because I have to tell you all this has happened and I can't thank you enough. And so I said, well, how did all this happen? And
yeah.
she said, Clubhouse.
Wow.
And so we're sitting on the beach in our side by side cabanas, and she's introduced me to Clubhouse. And what's the next thing I get? I find a place where they let me talk. They
Yeah.
encourage people to share authentically. I
Yeah.
found my tribe. I found so much support. I have gained. So I was like, there again, would I have ever guessed that it would have been an app, an
Yeah.
audio app from, and so again, how could you have ever in your mental thinking, your logical thinking, have come up with that scenario, right? And it wouldn't have never happened.
Right.
That's why it's so fun to play the game, and I love helping people to navigate new ways to play with that mental body and to play with the emotional body, because either way, anything discomfort is just, in my perception, one, maybe coming up for healing, that you
Mm.
need to then sit on that beautiful mat. Really. And I truly believe now, the more people I get introduced to and the more amazing healers, we all concur that any single dis-ease in the body forming in any way, whether it's a rash or like you said, a ball, or it's something
Yeah.
in your thoughts and emotions that are unhappy,
Yeah.
and it's showing you on your physical body
Yep.
how unhappy it is, and it's manifesting that energy on the physical plane. And so it doesn't matter how these countless different people, I keep learning new ways that I add to my healing. So I do indigenous healing, which now, after all of these years, incorporates whatever I'm guided to utilize during the sessions. And sometimes I use, almost always, I use a sound bowl because people need
Yeah.
to be rung out. But
Okay.
I also, some have drumming, some I utilize rattling, some I use the rain stick
Mm.
and different, but I also utilize magnets
Yeah.
and stuff that I would never tell, and they don't ask me, and some see the recording and watch me do my stuff, but
Right.
it's great. And all I know is that in the end, what does it matter as long as you feel the results,
Yeah.
right? And the mental freedom. And okay, you guys, I don't know if you're feeling this amazing man's energy, but just glare into his face and feel the peace. This
Mm.
isn't no mask. He energetically has such a light vibration that, to me, I could tell he's happy. He's in joy. And joy is the thing that is unshakable, really, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, joy is where we all need to be. I mean, look, it's a challenge, it's a journey, but when we're in that resonance of joy, that's when we're magical.
Yes. And it's navigating the pots in the road because really, again, we're all having a human experience, right? I moved in years ago to this little place and I kept going, oh my gosh, the neighbor is my narcissist masterclass. Because I like to lead into things that make me feel funny and laugh, and I was like, she's an accumulative of all the people in my life who crossed boundaries, who didn't hold boundaries, who, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, spirit, all right, I guess this is my master class, right? Because in the end, it's my choice if I want to choose to let that, because nobody makes you anything. We
Yeah.
get to choose how we perceive or respond to things. And I used to be volatile. I used to challenge things like that. And I used to feel like it was my job to help them raise their awareness of how wrong they were.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Been there, done that. One thing one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life, just through my own experiences and, kind of doing things I should, that weren't optimal, right? Was that the best way to change anyone or someone is to change within, change yourself, and they respond, right? Because it's like we are always interplaying energetically with other people, and they're responding to you just as much as we're responding to them. But sometimes, oftentimes we're doing it subconsciously. We're not aware of how we're doing it. But if you can
Mhm.
rise above that and you get to a point of where now, hey, you're making conscious, aware decisions, now you shift it. But you work on
Yes.
you, and you shift you, and then you can't control that anyway, but usually what happens is there's a shift there because they're responding to you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So on one of my favorite stages I was blessed to be on, it was a stage with Dr. Bernie Siegel. And
Okay.
it was so amazing. And I'm sitting here going, I'm on a stage with Dr. Bernie Siegel and I'm visualizing it and I am placing my physical self because again it's a clubhouse stage, but I don't care because in my
Yeah.
lot I'm and I know and I get to hear and talk and ask questions and interact and it was amazing. So I have custody of my three grandkids, Anthony, Ronnie, and Aubriella, who are 18, 15, and 10.
Mm.
And so they're from a lot of trauma. They've and there's a reason why I have custody of them. And so in that I asked about parenting because I saw the example of my old parenting. And I feel like I've been blessed that I get the opportunity to really be a better parent. I get two opportunities in this lifetime. And I really want to be different. And he communicated about how there's this time. So he gives this example of how he's at the gas station, he's just minding his own business, pumping his gas, right? And this volatile guy comes at him with all this hardness and he comes to him and he's like, I love you.
Yeah.
What do you need? How
Mm.
can I help you?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was in tears. I'm like, because I knew that I felt
Mm.
the shift. And he gave a couple other examples and I practiced that with my 18-year-old. And I tell you, it diffused the volatility instantly.
100%.
And I'm like, I'm so blessed that I am at this vibration that I have attracted the world's best thought leaders to
Mm,
help, you know what I mean? To
absolutely.
adjust my crown. And I use that. And it's funny because now it's kind of a joke because he's like, you know, and because at first
That's
he's
funny.
like, oh, yes, how can you love me? You know, and I just did in that. What do you need? And I let him go some more. And I love you. What, what can I do for you?
Yeah,
And it's so crazy. Go ahead.
absolutely. Yeah, love has no requirements, and that's a thing that sometimes people have a hard time with is they feel like they're unlovable, and um, I think that dysfunction in our thinking causes a lot of problems in families in our society. But I suspect that a lot more people are dealing with some level of that more than others, and that's why what you're doing, what you've done there, is so powerful because it's demonstrating, hey, there are no requirements for me to love you. I mean, the what's required is that I do, right, and that's all that's needed, and it's a decision that I make. and
Yes.
but it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it transforms people. um but yeah, I mean, I think we should have more love parties, let's call them, where people just love
Yes.
on each other, just for no reason. Why not?
And help practice
Yeah,
the communication of what, of knowing a response to what do I need, because I didn't get that class. My parents did never asked me what I needed. I was told what to do. That
right.
this is
Yeah,
like, so even for me, it is a new practice and experience that is in the very recent, because somebody, I think, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago did that to me, and it stopped me in my tracks and it made me mad. I remember I got so mad. What do you mean? What do I need? Don't
yeah,
you? And I was like, and then I was like, I got to have a better response to that
that's
question,
funny.
because it helped raise my awareness how uh, the lack of self awareness, and that I had never put myself on the list. So why would I even have a perception of what I needed or wanted, or anything? And this is where I think the real power is the unconditional love, true unconditional love. And to know that if I'm telling you I love you, and
Mm,
I'm not a fluff and stuffer, and I carry great love. I have great capacity for love, and that I want for people to be able to know what they want and need. And because how can we ever acquire it if we don't know what it looks like, what it feels like? I want to feel safe. I remember I started with all of my things, from the abandonment issues and from the trauma, right? So I was like, what's the opposite of that? Okay, well, I want trustworthy people who are of integrity, who actually do what they say they're going to do, who don't just take, right, that are reciprocating. And I went from all of this list, and I kid you not, in that journey, countless of them I did not even know. I didn't
mm,
even know. So I asked Google, what's the opposite of, because whatever I was feeling. So I had gotten to the point where I was, because I had gone years of therapy and church and
mm,
countless things, because I just wanted to feel better,
right.
right? And so I started practicing the things, and I began with the emotions and began to say, well, what do you feel? Sad, angry? Like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, so that's where I started with the feelings. And I was like, well, what's the opposite of this feeling? And I remember the one I kept on, I just feel like I'm a burden. I
Mm,
feel like I'm a burden. And Google could not give me the opposite of, what is the opposite of feeling like a burden.
mm,
And so that was one of the deepest roots I worked with, because a lot of the other things, yeah, what's the opposite of sad? You get
Right.
these things, but boy, that was a root that
Yeah.
I'm so glad to know now that I'm just a gift, and I really know it, and I feel it, and I'm so grateful that for the growth and the awareness of the pain my parents were carrying,
Mm.
and that it was not mine, but it was theirs. And to be able to detach that energy
Yeah.
and know that Trey's energy, if I put myself in my own decompression chamber, that I'm happy and I'm excited and I like to laugh, and the world is perfect.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? The world is a playground, and we're here to experience what it has to offer. But oftentimes, we're a mirror to the other person as they are a mirror to us. And we're
Yes.
reflecting our divinity to each other. And we were here to remind each other why we're here, who we are. And absolutely, I mean, that's yeah, and that's really embedded in your story, that essentially sometimes it takes that kind of wake up, from a response, from a reaction to someone else's action. It
Hmm.
reminds you, wait, wait a minute. And it gives you that opportunity to go from unconscious to conscious. And
Yes.
you can live more intentionally. You can move in that direction.
Hmm. Yes, I love that. And it's so important because part of it is just believing that is possible. So trust me, I leaned into the people who annoyed me. And it's so funny because I remember I was at church one time and they're like giving some kind of sermon about how if something bothers you about somebody or something, it's something within this you, not this you. Because most
Right.
of us, you, and they're doing the outward you, and they're like, no, it's this inward you. So sit with yourself and ask yourself, why am I feeling these feelings or doing these things? And I was like, oh, but it is so true that really that mirror, and so funny because normally I had for most of my life been this happy person, and then there was a time when the depression really got bad, and work was horrible, and there was this new hire, and she was the admin out there taking the calls because I was a network analyst, so they would pass the calls back, and she was the first point to hopefully resolve the issue right before it got to the big wigs. And she was so happy. And I remember I was like, oh God, she annoys me. Who hired her? Why? Oh my gosh. And then I realized, because of course I hear this sermon, and it's funny how when you start asking questions, the answer kind of comes. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? In some way, right? And so then I hear this, oh, it's something in here. And then I was like, because she's an example of such happiness, and I am so unhappy that her bubbly energy is messing. You know,
Messing you up, right?
yes. And so
That's right.
then, but you know what? The biggest thing that was that I realized
Mm,
that my energy, that I over, that when I'm extra, that I am invading. When I let my energy be too big, it's invading people's space that was uninvited. They didn't
mm,
invite my big energy to be all up in their Kool-Aid. And I did not realize until that it took that awareness
mm,
for me to realize how when I'm way happy, and not that, and trust me, I live unapologetically. So yes, I'm gonna, but I also understand now how energy works, and I keep my energy more to myself. than be like, unless they're in a place where they asked for it, right? In a
Right.
big crowd of people or in these rooms, because I'm sending the healing vibrations and energy even in Clubhouse. And I know
Mm,
I'm only in the rooms of people who are open to, that are open,
yeah.
period, the end. and and I
Absolutely.
love that I've attracted safe people who are like-minded, who are showing up not for the money, but
Yeah.
because they really want to make differences in the world. And these amazing people like Dr. Bernie Siegel and Michael Loiser, and I could go on and on of these people that I've attracted, that had it not been for that day on the beach, this person who ends up being one of my biggest clients, and now she started her own network and all of this stuff, right? I'm like, all from the crazy information, right? The synchronicities, and me doing what I communicated, what I needed to communicate, because Spirit told me, and she took the message and she ran with it. And because of that, now she's owns her own network, and these amazing things just keep happening one after another, and I keep meeting these amazing people. So now, who knows me, these amazing people who have been showing up, like Dr. Forbes Riley, she actually knows me by name, by face, and
Yeah.
talks to me, and has, like, I on and on of these amazing, and I'm like, what? Yes, thank you. Because the part of me is like, this is the part of me that I never saw in that reflection in the earlier part of me. I always felt like I should be so much bigger, or in these places that are not this,
Right.
right? But had no clue how I was going to get there. But the more I loved Trey, and the more I cared for me and got in alignment to what really made me happy,
Mm,
then they just show up.
that's right. Yeah, you got to be true to self. When you're in alignment, it's flow, surrender and flow, surrender and flow. And sometimes it takes a little faith, right? But
A lot of
um,
faith.
when you're there, magic happens. And
Yes.
absolutely, I'm with you. We're all kind of on this journey, and it's about the journey. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily about the destination, but as we're going through, we are evolving in our spirit, in our mental and emotional bodies, and we can give as well, right? So it's a flow of energy,
I
give and take.
love it. I love it.
Absolutely. So, by the way, I will mention that Bernie Siegel is a big fan of these pulse electromagnetic frequency mats. He's
Oh, I
yeah,
He's because he realized, because he understands that with his healing, with the amazing results he's had with his cancer patients and all the his work for decades,
yep,
it's about shifting the energy, and his listening ear shifts people's energy, being
yeah.
able to be the safe place. He's talking, it's so amazing. So I'm so grateful. Okay, I could sit here and keep talking and talking and talking. So Raji,
Yes.
please, please. You didn't give me a website or anything. So I want for people to know how they can get a hold of you, how they can get connected with
Yeah.
what you have to offer, because this is real stuff, you guys. I wouldn't have him on here if I didn't trust and believe in what he is doing. So this is
See,
your time, because we got to get ready. It's already, we were
we're
like minutes away, but please, all the information. If you have anything coming up, if you plan on attending any events in the future,
yeah.
let me know.
Absolutely. Well, I'm primarily I do a lot of things, but primarily with the frequency stuff. I'm working with one company that I think has the latest and the greatest in terms of frequency technology. That company is called Centropics, and my website is getthefrequency.com. So
Easy.
very easy, very simple. Getthefrequency.com. It's got a bunch of links there. You can go to my Centropic site. You can check out what they have. You can schedule a call with me. You can get connected with me. If you just want to chit chat or catch up or whatever you want to do, I love talking about this kind of stuff. Even if you just want to do a one-on-one, get to know each other, I'd love to do that with people. But also, we do have webinars every Saturday, noon Eastern time. There is a presentation on the the technology that they're offering. This is technology is coming out of Europe, and it's kind of making its way here into the U.S. And what I love about this technology is backed by science. It's so it's kind of like the merging of that kind of metaphysical kind of woo-woo frequency stuff with the physical
Document proof.
hardcore scientific stuff, right? So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And the gentleman that has created these frequency sets is really world renowned in this field, and there is no one like him on the planet. This guy is absolutely amazing. His name is Dr. Wolf A. Kafka, and he's a physicist. He's been working with this kind
See?
of frequency for decades. I mean, he's 83 years old right now, sharp as a whip. Uh, I mean, this guy is absolutely amazing. Speaks multiple languages, worked at the Max Planck Institute in Berlin, and he's been tinkering and kind of, one of these geniuses like these Tesla types, and what he's got to offer is absolutely amazing. And I've seen really unbelievable stuff happen right before my eyes using these types of devices, and it really it's heartening because I can actually offer relief to people that aren't getting it elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
very
They have
quickly.
to take action. So this means you have to actually take action. Take
Absolutely.
action. It's crazy. How many
100%.
people won't? How many people will just stay in pain?
Some
Or
people like some people like being in pain. Not that the pain in itself is, but sometimes
something
people
is serving them. Yep.
identifying with their
Story.
diagnosis, their sickness, or whatever it is, somehow it's getting the attention of their spouse or their family members or whatever it is, and so they sit in that, right? So they're getting a
Yes.
reward in a way from what they're doing. Now, when the pain gets too painful, typically that's when people move. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're always moving into pain or pleasure. It's the thing.
absolutely,
It's
yeah.
like there's yep. It's the truth. And I used to lean into pain. I know. I was a self sabotager. I was all the things. I was volatile. I was explosive. I was. I had strong feelings about things.
Well, look, I'm the same way. I'm stubborn. I have my just the way I'm hardwired, just growing
Yeah,
up.
but I think there's a reason for this because we have to be so determined once we got to now where we need to be in our belief systems because we are the forefront. We're the scouts. We're out here taking the hits for all
Absolutely.
of the people.
Well, it's just like anything, right? Nothing is really good and bad, good or bad inherently. It's a tool. It's a double-sided knife, right, or a tool or sword. Okay, it can, you can use it for good. You can use it for bad, right? Whatever skills or gifts you have and talents are there, right? They're meant to be used in a certain way, but they could be used, either on the left or on the right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how what you do with it. It's what you do with it, and so really that's what this life is about anyway. What you do with your life. Do you want to be miserable? You want to be happy? Or you want to be in pain? You want to be pain free? You want to soar, or do you just want to kind of lay low? Whatever it is you want to do, it's up to you. If it's to be, it's up to me. And really, it's
Yep.
that
And take
simple.
the action and step into it. First, see it. Start. It's a process. I keep telling everyone it's a whole recipe because there's all these different pieces. But once you just start being open, they're just gonna come. And you see
Absolutely.
it and just lean into it. It's gonna come.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. I better wrap it up because I'll just keep talking. Okay, Raji, I appreciate you guys. I hope I spelled it right. I cannot wait for this next conversation. And if you get anywhere out near Colorado, I would love to connect with you guys or do anything events out here. Oh my gosh, it would be such an honor. And until then, okay, listening audience, I appreciate all the people who have hopped on. I appreciate all of the shares, and you guys know that this is going to keep growing. So thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up. This is Trey with that Trey Talk, and you have just been Trey Talkified. So I have to hang up now. And until next week, you guys, same time, same place, we are going to laugh and learn about something new. Bye bye, you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.